This is reposted.
Today, we're joined by a very funny lady. She's a self-proclaimed overall weirdo and an actor, Leah Kilpatrick. She was the host of the Netflix show Superfan Builds, also nominated for a Streamy for Best Indie, and is in general hilarious. Check her out on Instagram at leah.kilpatrick, also patreon.com/Leah Kilpatrick. I'm going to get into it right now. Our quote today is from Robin Williams. He says, "You're only given a little spark of madness. You mustn't lose it." I don't think you've lost your madness, but I'm curious what this means to you.
Oh, well, thank you for the beautiful intro. First off, I love it. This one was really interesting to me. First off, thank you for picking Robin Williams. I mean, he's just the best, isn't he?
Yeah.
To me, when I think about madness, I think a lot of people think anger, and to me, I think inspiration. Like, I find that madness can be like the thing that separates you from someone else. And I often think that, like, without certain people having a type of madness within them that they couldn't like live without, like something that causes them to keep moving forward. It's kind of almost like an obsession of sorts. People who have like this crazy obsession move forward with this idea, and then that becomes the thing that sparks inspirations for like thousands of other people. I think about Robin Williams in that way, of just the type of person that he was and how many people that he touched, that in a way, if you looked at him out of his celebrity, he would be this weird, crazy man. But for whatever reason, he pushed forward with the things that he did, and people now love him because of it.
Sticking with this theme of madness, Leah, you started off as a producer and then at one point say, like, I want to go in front of the camera. That in itself is madness. What pushed you to say, like, you know what, I got to do it. I got to be out in front of the camera.
Oh, it's very true. It was, I always had this thing since I was little. Jim Carrey was one of my idols, so clearly I love Mad Men. I always wanted to be in front of the camera, honestly. Like, I always wanted to be making people laugh in some sort of a way, but I never felt that I was deserving of that or good enough or the potential to be. I don't know why I feel like I would put so much pressure on myself to be the best. So instead of just accepting whatever outcome would have come, I decided to never fail at it by never doing it. And that's kind of what led me into producing. It seemed like something tangible that I could do. I had a specific project. I knew the very logical steps to make that come together into production, post-production, and just to execute it, essentially. But then, when I was on set producing things, I felt like I was doing a very good job at what I was doing, but I kept looking at the people behind the camera and was so jealous to the point of, like, it was embarrassing that I was like mouthing their lines. And I was like, this is now I'm become the insane person. But I honestly, about 8 years ago, I was like, how can I stop lying to myself? And that's when I committed fully to acting, because that was the thing that made me happy. So it essentially didn't make sense to me to not do it. It was like I was an accountant for years and just complained about it all the time.
So I guess you're always creating interesting things. In my opinion, your Instagram is hilarious. You have your "this is pissing me off" where you go on rants, which I love. And what do you use as your inspiration to come up with these ideas? They're like outside the box, but they resonate with so many people. Like, what do you do?
I that's very sweet of you to say. I was sitting on the toilet one day, just really thinking
Yes!
what would inspire people. And it was literally just sitting on the toilet. No, I mean, I think what's so funny is the series, like, specifically that you're talking about, is called Pissing with Leah. And that series, it's so funny because people reach out to me and they're like, you seem like you're such a nice person. Why are you so angry? And I'm like, those characters that I play are yes, me, but they're a version, an extension of me. And it's something that I think that I've edited within myself just throughout life, as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, these things make me really angry in private. How can I make this entertaining? And they were so relatable. Things that I like complain about on that series is, is people on the freeway using the left lane when they're driving really slow. It's like the shit that everyone complains about. No pun intended there, but so I think, things that I can't, I guess it's the things that I can't get out of my head are the things that I'm like, I should probably make something out of that. Now, how I choose what that is, I definitely have an internal struggle. Like, is this the best way to present that? And I think that's the thing that kind of makes me go crazy is like, if you move forward with some sort of a project or idea or character, it's like, is that the best way to present it? I don't have that answer. And I think you have to just try it and see if it fails. And then the funny thing is like people will randomly come up to me that I don't know and be like, oh, I like that character. And it's always the one I think the least. Like I have a character named Libby, who's just like it's basically just like an intro to a like 80s sitcom or something, and that's it. Like the character doesn't have much of I developed the character like to an extreme extent, but what people see is just a snippet. And it's always funny to me what people find interesting, and I think they're the things that whatever they relate with.
Back to the madness part of this quote, Leah, does the madness ever take a toll? Like for you to be an actress, you are a stand-up comedian, you do improv, you're doing this stuff on Instagram, you're probably going to auditions, you hula hoop in your spare time. Does the madness of doing all this ever take a toll on you?
I think so. I think, I have just books and binders of like just ideas and sketches and stand-up, and because I come from that producing world, I have such a logical way about things that I have like this method to this madness that almost makes it worse. It almost makes it more maddening because then that's when if that failure happens, then it's like, okay, well, let's go back to the books. Like, why did this not work out? What, based on similar characters on SNL or in sitcoms or TV shows or whatever, like the ABCs of it all, and that comes from like a writer too. It's like, you put these kind of elements together. Why did something not work or not hit as well? And that's the thing that you can drive you crazy. But also I think the main thing is like, what made you laugh? And I know that sounds so cheesy and simple, but it always goes back to like, you're the one that has to be that character. And if you don't like that version of yourself, don't play that. Just move on to something else. And I think that was the thing, is I have deep love for these characters that I've created, and some people don't even like them. And I'm like, that's okay, because they're like weirdly my best friend, which sounds crazy.
So it kind of sounds like you have a pragmatic approach to a lot of stuff, which I can totally relate to. And I guess most people aren't in the entertainment world. And I think advice I've gotten early on is if you can see yourself doing anything else but acting, you should do it. Do you ever struggle with that? Like, is your pragmatic approach, or have you embraced that no matter what happens, you need to do this?
I think I've definitely embraced it by now. When I gave up producing, that was incredibly challenging for me because I was really good at it. And I think when people are really good and really comfortable with something, it's hard to leave it. And I found that I had to, and it all came down to my ego, honestly. Like the reason I didn't want to go into acting was because I was afraid I wouldn't be the best, which is just the craziest thing to think of. Like, I'm just going to stop doing one thing and then I need to become the best that next moment. So, and that's how my brain was working, which was just so ridiculous. So I was like, well, how can I commit to the thing that I felt for my entire life that I wanted? And that was just to make people laugh in some form, whether that's getting an Oscar for that or, or making things on Instagram for that. The outcome didn't matter to me. It was that feeling of how can I bring joy to someone that needed it? And to do that, I had to kind of break my ego down. And what I did to commit was I got a job at a restaurant. And I went from being a very high paid producer on like a weekly basis to, going up to a table and being like, what do you want to drink? And that was hard. It was like definitely an ego boost, but then I had to sit with that and I was like, why? Like, why would that be something? This is the thing that's facilitating me to do the thing that I've always wanted to do. It's a gift. I have to look at it as this opportunity to give me this free time. And with that free time, I was able to make characters and also commit to stop producing, because that was the hardest thing too, was it was hard to let go of it. So when I got the job at the restaurant, it was kind of like, I can't be on set. I have no time. I have to show up and serve people French fries.
Yeah.
All right, Leah, this is a very big day, certainly for me. I hope Andrew feels the same way. The circle of life completed here. Stick with me. 2011, you were in a film, Crazy Stupid Love. Also in that movie was Kevin Lamar Bacon. By property of osmosis, you were in a movie with Kevin Bacon. You are now on our show. I am now in 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Thank you, Leah. Big day for me. Big day.
You made it, Larry. Congrats.
Yes. Woo!
If you guys have a post you'd like us to further explore, please reach out. You can find us at Reposted Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Check out Leah at Leah.Kilpatrick. Also support her at patreon.com/Leah Kilpatrick. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.